Hello and welcome to the Crimson Misery Podcast, episode 24. My name is Will Rainbolt. Hope you all are doing well. Hope you all are doing better than I am as Indiana lost to Maryland. Don't even want to talk about that game. I will leave it with this in that Mike Woodson does not belong on the sidelines for Indiana basketball. So anyway, that being said, this is my fourth attempt recording this episode because I was having microphone problems and the audio was really choppy and it would speed up with like no warning. So it was unpublishable. So this is all of this I'm talking about will be is pretty much seeped into my memory of what I need to discuss, which is also just like, oh, do I have to talk about this yet again? So I'm trying to get this podcast out to you guys. So hopefully it works this time. But that being said, if you all are listening on Spotify, Apple, or wherever you get your podcasts, consider rating the show 5 stars. If you are listening on YouTube, like, subscribe, comment down below. And let's go ahead and get started. It seems like I'm talking about these games for the millionth time. But South Carolina defeated LSU 66 to 56, handing LSU their first loss of the season. Anytime Kim Mulkey loses is a win for the left and a win for LGBTQ plus rights. Uh, so anyway, South Carolina just overall did a really good job at taking away um, a lot of LSU's firepower, as they normally do for anyone. But especially, I mean, they held Anissa Morrow to 15 points. She was LSU's highest scorer. Michaela Williams and Flau'jae Johnson had 13 apiece. Um, but really nothing else. Really, no one else really had a good game outside of those three. And South Carolina didn't have a necessarily spectacular scorer this game. I mean, Joyce Edwards, one of the best freshmen in the country for South Carolina, had 14 points. Um, but Tessa Johnson also made some big shots down the stretch. So I mean, South Carolina really didn't have like too much going for them, but they still got to get a win over a top five LSU team. One of their best wins of the season. So we shall see how that ends up going for them the rest of the way, probably to another I mean, I was about to say undefeated, but they did lose to UCLA, who is the number one team in the country. So, and with that being said, let's go to Saturday's action on the women's side. So UConn defeated uh, fellow undefeated in the Big East Creighton. UConn's now 10-0 in the Big East, 19-2 overall. Creighton now 8-1 in the Big East, 16-4 overall. And uh, one of the tougher games that UConn was going to face, and they passed the test. Not even really due to Paige Beckers. It was Sarah Strong who had the really good game today, 26 points. Paige had 22, but uh, once other scorers like Sarah Strong really get going and continue to help Paige Beckers with with the scoring load. I mean, this UConn team is going to be really difficult to beat. I don't really see them losing another game in the Big East this year. I mean, Creighton was probably their toughest test, and they passed that. So, and then Colorado and Arizona both got big wins at home to boost their NCAA tournament resume. Colorado defeated Kansas State, who was number 10 at home, 63 to 53, and then Arizona defeated West Virginia 77 to 62. West Virginia was 16th. And then Michigan State blew the doors off Michigan 88 to 58 in Ann Arbor. So uh, Julia Eieralt had 18 points, 13 rebounds in this one. Hollick had 25. And then, like what South Carolina did to LSU, Michigan State took away a lot of Michigan's firepower. So Silas Swords only had 4 points. This is someone who averages 15. So that is big when you can hold someone like that to just 4 points. Um, so big win there for Michigan State. Again, boosting their tournament resume in the Big Ten. And then today, which is Sunday, TCU looking to bounce back. They're leading Baylor by 8 at home in the fourth quarter. Um, Minnesota defeated Wisconsin 71 to 50. LSU is bouncing back nicely against Texas A&M. They're leading 27 to 16. UCLA defeated Maryland 82 to 67. That is their third loss in a row for Maryland. UCLA remains unbeaten at 20 and 0. Maryland, I know they're without Bree McDaniel, and I think uh, uh is yeah, it's Sellers. She was out for this game. So yeah, a very difficult time for Maryland right now. They're probably going to be knocked down probably in the 20s if I were to suspect. I know the competition they've played is pretty good, but and then UCLA, Lauren Betts, what else can you really say about her? 33 points, 7 rebounds, 4 blocks, making a big case for National Player of the Year. Lauren Betts is. I mean, I know Juju Watkins exists, and obviously Hannah Hidalgo for Notre Dame, um, and Tanya Lotson for Florida State. Speaking of Florida State, they knocked off North Carolina. A team finally gets to North Carolina's defense and puts up 86 on them. As Florida State um, beats North Carolina 86 to 84. There was a crazy final sequence where where Florida State wins at the buzzer after trading buckets down the stretch. Um, with Watson scoring the game winner. And again, that's what I mean. Not to, you know, put them down or anything, but that's what happens when timeouts are move the ball to your side of the court, so it's a little easier to get your shots off. But at the same time, still a crazy sequence, and I kind of like it. So it's a really good rule, in my opinion. I wish the men's side would be like that, but at the same time, and kind of how it is in the NBA. So yeah, Ohio State is on top of Nebraska 70 to 66 currently. They are look like they're on their way to winning. Uh, and Texas is currently losing to Ole Miss, so that's a really big upset if that were to hold. I will get back to that game here in a second because I'm going to go to the men's side. Again, it feels like I've been talking about these games for seemingly ages now. Um, so Anyway, Marquette defeated Villanova 87 to 74. I don't have a ton to say about that game other than I mean Marquette needed this game to keep pace with St. John's in the Big East. I think they're currently tied atop the Big East. Marquette just keep on doing their thing. Stevie Mitchell had a really good game with 21 points. And I think he had like 3 or 4 steals. So a great performance from him. They need to keep winning at home for Marquette. And then Purdue blew out Michigan at home after Purdue lost to Ohio State. This was a game that um, Purdue really needed to win, and boy, did they ever. Braden Smith had 24 points, 7 rebounds, 10 assists to lead the way. Fletcher Lawyer hit 5 threes. CJ Cox had a couple of really good baskets early on to set the tempo for Purdue. And I mean, Vladislav Golden and Danny Wolf were both held in check, uh, who normally do a lot of damage with their front court. So when those guys are being held to 18 points overall and 6 of 17 shooting. That really goes a long way for opponents to win, and Purdue did exactly that. So let's move on to Saturday's action, yesterday's action. Auburn defeated Tennessee 53 to 51. This is Auburn's first game back with Janai Broom, who played 33 minutes off the bench. He had 16 points, 13 rebounds. Zakai Ziegler led Tennessee with 14 points, 6 rebounds. He had a look at a game-winning three, but was off the mark. So Auburn wins. Miles Kelly hit the game winner for them. And Yeah, for Tennessee, both teams really were pretty bad shooting the basketball. Uh, so this was a game that I think for Auburn, uh, readjusting now that Broom's back in the lineup, um, should be good to go from here on out unless he gets hurt again. But um, they were 3 of 20 overall from three, and then Tennessee was 4 of 22 from beyond the arc. Um, I think Tennessee will be fine overall. Um, but I think if they continue to have shooting nights like this, and if guys like Jordan Gainey and Chaz Lanier and Zakai Ziegler are cold, then a lot of teams come tournament time will definitely feast on that. So they need to get their offense figured out. Um, Also, shout out to one of my listeners, one of my friends, Tyler from Tennessee, who's been sick recently. Um, Definitely doesn't feel great to lose this sort of game, but hopefully the Tennessee women's team will put up a good effort against South Carolina. We shall see, but South Carolina is South Carolina. They're really good. So, um, with that being said, Duke is at number two, and they beat Wake Forest, who's probably the fourth best team in the ACC right now, behind Louisville and behind Clemson. Wake Forest probably needed this win pretty badly, but Duke remains unbeaten in the ACC. They're now at 9-0, and man, I mean, aside from the Clemson game, at Clemson, I don't think Duke has. I don't. They shouldn't lose any other game, and that even includes the games against North Carolina, because UNC's pretty bad. They they barely beat a bad Boston College team at home, and they only did so because Boston College pretty much choked the game away. So yeah, not they're not looking too great. I mean, obviously Cooper Flag played really well. Con Kneppel had a really good first half, pacing the way for Duke. I don't have too much else to say about that one. Same with Iowa State, other than that Curtis Jones looking like Big 12 player of the year right now. Um, 33 points, 7 rebounds, 3 steals as Iowa State wins 76-61 over Arizona State, who were playing pretty well overall in this one. They were definitely, they definitely, especially in the first half, they were pacing pretty well, but unfortunately, they just ran out of gas for them. So Iowa State is now 7-1 in the Big 12. I think they're right there with with Arizona, and they're behind Houston, who I'll get into in a bit. Uh, Alabama's depth continues to play really well against LSU, winning 80-73. They just have so much depth, man. Even when guys like Mark Sears and Grant Nelson aren't having great games, they have so many others that can just step up. Like Mark Sears was scoreless in the game, and Alabama still put up 80 points. So that team's really good, man. Team's really good. And same with Florida, winning 89-59 over Georgia. Um, Walter Clayton had 17 points to lead the way with 5 steals as well. Um, yeah, really just a solid effort from them overall. And then Vanderbilt upsets Kentucky 74-69, despite Ortega Owe having a double double with 21 points, 12 rebounds. When Lamont Butler isn't having a great game, or when he's not out on the court, it could be really tough for Kentucky, and that's exactly what happened here. When their offense isn't clicking as normal, they're very susceptible to a lot of losses like this. And they had a good comeback in the second half after being down 14 at halftime. But Mark Byington's team, probably coach of the year candidate right now, 16-4 overall for a Vanderbilt squad who hasn't done much as of late. Really, really spectacular win. They had a great win against Tennessee, great win against Kentucky today, and then Texas had to come back from 20 down against Texas A&M to win 70-69. I almost said Tremont Waters. Tremont Tremont Mark had a runner to win the game for Texas, and then Trey Johnson also had 30 points, one of the best freshmen in the country. Um, Helped lead the way to Texas coming back against A&M, who definitely After beating Ole Miss on the road, definitely looked like they were going to win this one too, but it was not to be. So Texas has beaten both Missouri and A&M this week, so a very, very good week for them. Missouri bounced back against Ole Miss, 83-75. So Ole Miss has now lost two in a row. Um, no, three in a row. Yeah, three in a row because they lost to Mississippi State. That's right. Um, so yeah, not really shedding a tear for Chris Beard here. Um, and then Mississippi State beat South Carolina, so not too much to say there. But Mississippi State um, has bounced back after the loss to Tennessee. One of the stranger results, Kansas State beat West Virginia 23rd in the country. Kansas State led 42-18 at halftime. And then West Virginia, look, I just think that they play better when they're not ranked, and they play better. They play worse, sorry, when they are ranked. So this was just a weird game for them. I'm not, quite sure I'm not quite sure what they can do from here, but they have weird wins. Like they've beaten Iowa State. But they've also lost to Kansas State. They've lost to Arizona at home. So it's just really strange to me. So, and then Minnesota has won three in a row. Uh, they just beat Oregon, who was ranked 15th, 77-69. Dawson Garcia had 31 points to lead the way. And I just don't know what to make of this Oregon team. They're just really, um, they may have peaked a little early, with the way they're currently playing right now. I just don't get their guard play very much. And I mean, I know Dana Altman can orchestrate a turnaround, but yeah, this Oregon team's just very suspect to me. Um, and then a couple of the crazier games featuring ranked opponents. UConn loses at Xavier 76-72. They're still without Liam McNeely. I get it. Um, but Aiden Mahaney had a pretty good bounce back game, 14 points, who's been kind of a disaster this year, but had a pretty good showing today. And then Solo Ball, who I really like, had 20 points. Um, But man, like again, defensively, UConn is just kind of a mess. They're currently ranked 131st in defensive efficiency. Easier for you to say. Um, and they're just really, especially interior defense is just really bad without Donovan Clingan, obviously now in the NBA, and it just really they just don't look like the same team as they were 2 years ago. Even with guys like a Sonogo and especially with Donovan Clingan. Interior defense is a problem, and their guards are being run down, especially when Alex Caravan isn't scoring as much as he should. UConn is really suffering, and obviously without McNeely, I understand getting him back will help, but at the same time, this UConn team just has a lot of flaws. And Xavier took full advantage of that. They five guys in double figures, including Jerome Hunter, former IU player, who had 12 points. Dante Maddox Jr. had 14. Zach Freemantle, and now that he's been back from injury, has kind of stabilized Xavier a little bit. He had 15. Same with Dylan Swain with 15, Davion McKnight with 11, and then Marcus Foster hit two free throws to seal the game after UConn did not get a shot off that could have tied the game. They had to come back from 10 down, and they did a decent job at it despite Alex Caravan fouling out, but UConn could not beat Xavier. And then oh, Rutgers, what do we do with you? What do we do with you? I've already talked about Steve Peichel being on the hot seat, having two guys who are um, in Dylan Harper. I know he's hurt, and then obviously Ace Bailey, who are projected like to be in the top five of the NBA draft potentially. Um, They're now 10-10 and 3-6 overall after losing to Michigan State. Jordan Durkak was actually the big star for Rutgers in this game. I know he's a New Jersey native and it was in Madison Square Garden in New York, but Michigan State is now 8-0 in the Big Ten, 17-2 overall. Uh, Jace Richardson, the son of Jason Richardson, former Michigan State legend, with 20 points. Cohen Carr, just one of the best athletes in the country right now, had 14. If he can start to get consistent, then Michigan State becomes so much more deadly. And uh, Jaden Akins, even though he didn't have a great shooting game, had with 3 of 15 overall, had 12 points. And Rutgers just defensively is such a mess from what they were previously known as under Steve Peichel, and it just really Michigan State was getting a lot at will. So, um, yeah, Tom Izzo has this team playing pretty well. So Michigan State might be back. We'll see, but you never know. Um, and then one of the best games of the year, Houston in double overtime takes out Kansas 92-86 in Fog Allen. And my God, that should not have happened because Kansas choked this game away. They absolutely choked. And I know they're without KJ Adams. Flory Badunga had 19 points and he almost won the game for them single-handedly. But and guys like Rylan Griffin played pretty well off the bench, 17 points for him. Zeke Mayo had 16 despite going 1 of 8 from three. Uh, and then Hunter Dickinson, despite having 17 points, is one of the worst interior defenders I've ever seen for a 7'2" center. Um, so let's talk about how Houston ended up coming back in this one because Kansas, despite leading 66-60 with just under or yeah, just over a minute left. Um, Milo Uzan made a couple jumpers, one with a minute left, and then another one with 17 seconds left to cut the deficit to two. And then Kansas ends up turning it over. Um, on the inbound. And then Shaquille Moore ends up fouling Jawan Roberts, who makes both free throws for Houston. He had a great game. Jawan Roberts did for a Houston team that is now 8-0 in the Big 12. They tie the game, send it into overtime, and then Kansas has an even tighter stranglehold on Houston after Rylan Griffin makes two free throws with 28 seconds left to make it a 79-73 game. LJ Cryer misses a three-pointer. Dajuan Harris gets the rebound, seemingly puts the game away, except he misses both free throws. Emmanuel Sharp makes a three-pointer with 8 seconds left, and then Kansas once again turns it over on the inbound. Milo Uzan steals it. Then Malik Wilson makes a three-pointer to tie the game and send it into double overtime, where Kansas missed, I think, like 4 or 5 free throws in double overtime, especially AJ Storr, who was scoreless in this game. It's just been a disaster for AJ Storr at Kansas. He's averaging more than 10 points per game less than he did last year at Wisconsin. 10 points per game less. Good God. It's what a disaster. And then Jawan Roberts, of course, hit some big shots down the stretch, finishing with 24 points. Man, Kansas, look, I know Bill Self, two-time national championship winner, and but man, his time might be coming here soon because he's just not his teams are just not playing very well, especially back-to-back years being ranked number one preseason and flaming out, of course, last year, and then this year looking like they're suffering the same fate. They just have such a lack of depth and especially underperformance with guys like AJ Storr. Um, yeah, it just really is not a good look for Bill Self having this much talent back to back seasons and then falling flat. Kansas just does not have their same mojo as they used to. Like it is not is not sad to say because I don't like Kansas at all, but um, yeah, it is just very strange to see this happen, and we'll see what we'll see if Kansas can rebound. But they're now 3 games back of the Big 12 lead. They have to surpass Arizona, Iowa State, Houston. Just a lot. Just a lot they need to do in order to rebound because right now this is not it. Um, they're also behind Texas Tech now, so good lord, and they're tied with a pretty mediocre Baylor team. So there's a lot they need to end up doing, but um, it is possible the Kansas out talents their way, but I have my doubts overall. So anyway, that those are the ranked matchups. I want to get into some of the mid-major action, some of the unranked games that happened. Not on Sunday, but on Saturday. Thank you. Um, yeah, so um, Marist is now 8-1 in the mock after beating Canisius 70-47. Uh, Marist is up there with I believe Quinnipiac for the top of the max standings or the mock standings. Sorry, um, yeah, 70-47. Uh, Creighton defeated Seton Hall 79-54. Ryan Kalkbrenner had 23 points, 9 rebounds. So Creighton bouncing back pretty nicely. Uh, Probably will make the tournament after a slow start, but yeah, they're bouncing back pretty nicely. And this season for Seton Hall cannot end soon enough. 6-14 overall, 1-8 in the Big East. Pretty bad look for them. And then St. Louis loses to George Washington on the road. Robbie Avila, he was averaging 3 turnovers, by the way, 13 points and 3 steals for them. Rafael Castro had 21 points and 9 rebounds for George Washington to win that one. And then LaSalle beats Rhode Island 70-64. Um, Sorry, I have Archie Miller PTSD, but Rhode Island fans, sorry that you have to deal with this currently. So anyway, Bradley remains in front of both Drake and Belmont for the Missouri Valley Conference lead. They are now 9-1 in the Missouri Valley, 18-3 overall after defeating Illinois State 61-57. Great win for them. Yale is now 4-0 in the Ivy League after defeating Harvard 84-55. Nick Townsend had 22 points to lead the way there. Cornell and Princeton are both 3-1 in the Ivy League. Um, so yeah, not it's Yale's currently to lose, but Cornell and Princeton are right behind. So we shall see what ends up happening there. Bright is now 6-0 in the America East after defeating Binghamton 83-69. Um, Purdue Fort Wayne defeated IU Indy 91-80. Jalen Jackson had 38 points, 7 rebounds, 6 assists. That's a guy that a lot of people should keep their eye on. He's a junior, averaging 20 points per game this year. He's definitely someone who may enter the transfer portal at season's end. So keep an eye on Jalen Jackson. Also shooting 37% from three on the year. So great game for him. And then uh, Cleveland State is now 10-1 in the Horizon League after defeating Doug Gottlieb's Green Bay Phoenix 81-66. Oh my gosh. Again, it'll be sad when the day comes that Doug Gottlieb gets fired because he's just the gift that keeps on giving. He really is. And I just, it was a terrible hire from the start, and it just keeps getting worse. There is no bottom for Green Bay, um, truly. So, yeah, there's that one. And then Arizona beat Colorado 78-63. big win for them, of course, keeping pace with Houston in the Big 12. New Mexico is now 9-1 in the Mountain West after defeating UNLV 75 to 73. Donovan Dent had 34 points for New Mexico. And then Utah State defeated Air Force as well. I think they're now 8-1 in the Mountain West. It's going to come down between those two teams for the Mountain West title. That is a conference race that needs to be kept, that you need to look at if you're a college basketball fan. Um, great job by both those teams. And then, yeah, Drake defeated Missouri State on the road 69 to 62 in overtime. Belmont defeated Murray State on the road 95 to 77. And then, yeah, Utah State defeated Air Force 87 to 58. Um, yeah, that's going to be a great conference race to watch, the Mountain West. So, yeah, then we have SIU Edwardsville defeating Morehead State 865 to 54. SIU Edwardsville is now a game back in the Ohio Valley Conference, uh, which that might be another conference race that you need to pay attention to. It's still Morehead State a game ahead, but we shall see what ends up happening with that one. And then yeah, Clemson now 9-1 in the ACC after defeating Virginia Tech 72 to 57. Again, Clemson might be the rest of the country's only hope for defeating Duke, or at least the rest of the ACC's hope. Because aside from that, I don't think Duke loses, especially even to a team like uh, North Carolina, who I've already talked about. Um, yeah, I just think Clemson is their only shot to beat Duke. Because otherwise, if Duke can beat Clemson, I think they run the table. Maybe North Carolina gives them a good game at Chapel Hill, but I just don't see it happening. Northern Colorado, after losing to Idaho, beats Eastern Washington on the road 67 to 62. They are now 7-1 in the Big Sky, leading that conference. And then McNeese is now 9-0 in the Southland after defeating UT Rio Grande 93 to 63. Kadir Copeland had 21 points to lead the way there. And then um, Oregon State defeated Santa Clara 83 to 69. So Oregon State's now 16-6 overall and 6-3 in the West Coast Conference. They're on the bubble currently. I think they should definitely be considered for the tournament, but of course for the West Coast Conference right now it's St. Mary's leading the West Coast Conference after defeating Washington State 80 to 75. They're now 2 games ahead of Gonzaga, who defeated Portland 105 to 62, bouncing back after they lost two in a row to Oregon State and Santa Clara. I really want St. Mary's to win this conference, man. I really do. Because I just want someone else to win, and it'd really be nice. So, to see a difference in the conference standings now. So, Omaha is now 7-0 in the Summit League after defeating Oral Roberts 84 to 76. JJ White had 35 points for Omaha. Might be a contender for Summit League Player of the Year. And yeah, they've been playing really well as of late. So they have a shot to go undefeated in the Summit League. And then another game that makes me pretty happy and gives me uh, something to be happy about as Indiana continues to shit the bed. Oklahoma defeated Arkansas 65 to 62. John Calipari just continues to suck as head coach at Arkansas. That hire's just looking worse and worse. Arkansas is now 1-6 in the SEC. Ha ha ha. Good. So anyway, with that said, the other conference race I really have been paying attention to and think you all should pay attention to is the race in the Big West. UC Irvine is 8-1 in the Big West after defeating Hawaii 71 to 55. They are now a game ahead of UC San Diego 79 to 54 over Cal State Northridge. That matchup February 8th between UC Irvine and UC San Diego is pretty much going to decide it. Because I believe UC Irvine has the tie-breaking win over UC San Diego currently, and that was at UC San Diego. Um, So both teams, I think, their only other losses to, I believe it's UC Riverside. Yeah, UC Riverside has beaten both UC Irvine and UC San Diego. Uh, Keep your eye out on that one because it's going to be a very good race to see. So, and then also in the West Coast Conference, San Francisco 7-3, 17-6 overall. So they might be on the bubble this year if they continue to play well. We shall see. But let's move to Sunday's action. Look, Indiana sucks. They botched their in game execution, lack of whatever. Trey Galloway missed the front end of a 1-1 that could have pretty much put the game on ice, but then Rodney Rice for Maryland hit the game winning triple to win the game. Whatever. It just like Mike Woodson does not belong on the sidelines as Indiana head coach. It's over. It's over. Wisconsin destroyed Nebraska. Nebraska is just in free fall mode. Wisconsin wins 83 to 55, and then Illinois bounces back, beats Northwestern 83 to 74. Kasper Shakachonis had 11 points, 10 rebounds. Um, yeah, not too much to say about that one. North Texas is now 6-1 in the American after defeating 77 to 64. They are keeping pace with the Memphis Tigers, who are also 6-1 after defeating UAB 100 to 77. There were a lot of great games for Memphis in this one. PJ Haggerty had 23 points to lead the way. Dane Danger starting this game at 21 points, 10 of 12 from the floor. Colby Rogers had 12. Nicholas Jourdain at 11. Tyrese Hunter at 9. PJ Carter at 14. Musa Cisse at 9. So just an overall very good effort from Memphis. If they continue this type of effort, they can go pretty far. Um, because they have the talent to make a pretty good run in the NCAA tournament. So that being said, I'm gonna just probably watch the rest of the NFL playoffs today, the conference championship weekend. But yeah, keep out for the South Carolina Tennessee game on Monday. That's going to be a pretty good game to watch. Um, but yeah, once I get back to you all, I'll have probably some coach scouting I might say. So, for Indiana's next head coach potentially. So, anywho, just a couple quick notes. TCU defeats Baylor 80 to 75, bouncing back after they lost to, I believe it was Oklahoma State. Yep, Oklahoma State. The same Oklahoma team. No, it was Texas Tech, not what am I? Yeah. So Ole Miss loses at home to Texas. Texas ends up coming back and winning 61 to 58. Um, and then Duke beats Georgia Tech on the road 55 to 50. Kentucky wins at home 89 to 69. Georgia Amore had 19 points and 8 assists. And LSU continues to lead Texas A&M 32 to 25. So with that being said, thank you all so much for listening. Hopefully the audio is good on this one and I can actually post the episode. If not, then I might just scrap it and just move on with my life. So, anyway, thanks again so much for listening. I will see you all next time. Bye bye.